Yeah, Lamar and I are talking. We met recently. It's an ongoing discussion. We both understand the urgency of the situation. It's been a good dialogue, a good discussion. I'm optimistic, as I continue to be optimistic, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, Jackson is atop senior NFL writer and analyst Pete Prisco's top free agent list. Baltimore parted ways with offensive coordinator Greg Roman, brought in Todd Monken in the offseason to get Lamar back on track. Lamar Jackson also, of course, dealing with the injury at the end of the season. Let's welcome in NFL insider Josina Anderson, who is in Indianapolis at the Combine here. Josina, what more can you tell us here on the very latest and perhaps clarify on some things that are sort of in that Twitter ethos?
Well, I think there's been a lot in the media with respect to the different sides and their perspectives going into this contract negotiation that has been lingering for Lamar Jackson, who is eligible to be a free agent, but we don't expect that to be unrestricted because obviously, the tag is on the table and even a potential trade. But here's what I understand. There was a report out there last year, I believe, that came from ESPN saying that the deal that the Ravens offered included $133 million guaranteed. And the clarification on that figure, from my understanding, is that that was the amount at least that was offered guaranteed at signing. But the understanding as far as the total guarantees, as I was told by a source coming into Indianapolis, is that was closer to the figure of about $180 million. So just to clarify that aspect. Then the other aspect is whether he wants a fully guaranteed contract or not. So as of last year, we all operated under that notion of Lamar Jackson wanting a guaranteed contract, particularly in the aftermath of Deshaun Watson getting that 5-year, $230 million deal from Cleveland. Now, recently, one of our colleagues in the industry, Stephen A. Smith, went on his program and said, per the information he was getting from that side, that Lamar Jackson does not want a fully guaranteed contract. So here's what I understand. What I was told coming into Indy is that Lamar Jackson is not looking for anything less than what Deshaun Watson got. Now, if you're having that conversation last year, that would obviously amount to a fully guaranteed contract because that is the amount of Deshaun Watson's contract last year. If you're asking for that amount this year and not trying to go at least below that, it is possible to get that amount, let's say if you're looking for something higher, and make sure you're getting that at a minimum and still not getting a fully guaranteed contract. So let's say, just for an example, you were looking for, you're getting 240. You're still getting 240, but you're making sure that at least 230 of that is guaranteed. So my understanding through this is a lot of this is kind of semantics, and depending upon the audience's kind of understanding of how these contracts work. So that's kind of where that is. And just to kind of put a final button on that, again, my understanding is that Lamar Jackson is not looking for anything less than what Deshaun Watson got. And beyond that, he could not get a fully guaranteed contract so long as his minimum number, whatever that is met. Now, I think here's the kind of interesting conversation behind that really quickly. If you're looking at what Russell Wilson is currently averaging, which is about $48 million a year, and they're just coming off of a 5-12 season in Denver, you would have to think that Lamar Jackson is not looking for anything less, one, bottom base as far as what Russell Wilson got. Now, last year there was a report out there from ESPN that he did nix the deal just shy of $50 million an average a year, which is what Aaron Rodgers is at. So you would have to kind of get an idea of what you think the floor is relative to those numbers, knowing that Russell Wilson is at a minimum of 48. He supposedly nixed the deal around what Aaron Rodgers got, so that has you maybe just shy of 50. So now you're kind of understanding where that number is as of last year. And then the question is, what is that number potentially now that we're in 2023, and the cap has gone up by 8% at least since last year, and accounting for that inflation potentially.
Okay, good context there, and the timeline of the Lamar Jackson issue. But again, in terms of time, there's not much in it in terms of the deadline coming up on Tuesday, Josina. So we just heard from Eric DeCosta. He does have some things at his disposal, like the franchise tag, but there's exclusive, non-exclusive. Can you take us through the pros and cons, the differences there that we may see coming up here?
Well, first of all, the tag deadline is March 7th, and obviously they have two options between the non-exclusive, which is about $32 million, and the exclusive, which is $45 million. Now, if you go with the non-exclusive, and obviously that gives other teams the right to negotiate with Lamar, the Ravens have the opportunity to match that. And if they don't do that, then they get the 2 first-round picks in exchange for that not occurring. Now, on the exclusive side, that is worth about $45 million, but the advantage there is, though, he doesn't have the ability to negotiate with other teams. The Baltimore Ravens get to set the parameters at which the compensation is that comes in for Lamar. So for me, knowing that quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson were acquired for a minimum of 3 first-round picks, to me, and this is just my opinion, it doesn't make sense to do the non-exclusive and put yourself in a situation where you're getting less than the compensation that's already out there on the market for quarterbacks that were acquired by a trade. Now, I was just talking to an agent before I got here who represents a player on the team, and his perspective when we were trying to think through this as to why you would maybe consider the non-exclusive is because from a macro perspective, the Ravens have other deals to do for other people besides Lamar. So if you're at that 32 figure, potentially that gives you room to deal with people like a Marcus Peters or Kyle Fuller or whoever else you're maybe potentially deciding to bring back or not bring back. The problem is that if we know per this report, as I mentioned in the last question, that Lamar Jackson turned down a deal that was roughly about 50. We know that Patrick Mahomes right now is averaging 45. To me, you already know that Lamar Jackson is not going to get anything less than 45. That's already the base value of the exclusive. In addition to that, the exclusive is allowing you to set the market for what the compensation is coming in for Lamar. So to me, even though it might give you less room to negotiate for some of the other pending free agents, that is the market already for top-tier quarterbacks. You have to go into this knowing that this is the minimum that I'm already going to do per what the market is dictating, and everything else, Marcus Peters aside and all that, is going to have to work around that figure anyways. And then from an optics standpoint, as far as Eric DeCosta and how he comes across negotiating these deals for the Baltimore Ravens and in the public, at least you don't have to answer for why you got less compensation than what other quarterbacks demanded on the market last year if things don't go well. You know, you're managing risk and reward in either situation. And for me, I would rather operate with what I know. What I know is the market already out there for quarterbacks, and what I know most likely is the bar figure for Lamar based on what, you know, top-tier quarterbacks are making, and then go from there. And then you can mitigate the fallout when you, to me, you operate under those principles.
Josina, certainly appreciate it. We'll let you go so you can gather some more information, but we appreciate the latest and the insight on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens here on CBS Sports HQ. Again, a reminder, the scouting combine coverage does not stop. We've got our insiders there at Lucas Oil Stadium at the Convention Center all week long from Indianapolis. Keep it right here on the Q.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.